Hey, everybody. TYTSports.
And we're off.
And we're off. The smooth beginning that we always like. Ben, Jenk, Steve, Heather. Talking about week 9 in the NFL. Another interesting week. We're going to burrow in on a few games. Let's start with Johnny Unitas, Nick Foles. I wisely picked the Raider defense up this week in fantasy.
Oh, good for you.
And I thought, what damage can Nick Foles do? He's got a concussion. Matt Barkley might play, for crying out loud.
Who he did play.
He did play, that's right. Just not a 22 of 28, 406 yards, 7 touchdowns. Let's start with because a couple interesting things about this game. One, Nick Foles had a perfect passer rating in this game. What kind of a league makes their perfect passer rating 158.3?
Right.
Like, I mean, what?
And he had incompletions. How could you be perfect if you have incompletions?
Right.
I
Okay.
think,
Right.
But what do you have? 4 incompletions?
Six.
All right.
But 7 touchdowns. Like, I got that there could be a formula because, of course, in the NFL, sometimes an incomplete pass is a smart play, right?
I think if you have more touchdown passes than incompletions,
right,
you have a perfect game.
That's a fair point. Yeah. But how is it 158.3? Like, on What the Flick, let's start ranking movies on a 1 to 158.3 scale.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Man, 12 Years a Slave, it was just gripping stuff. 155.4.
Do we know the science
Wasn't quite perfect, but it was pretty good.
Do you know the science behind the QBR?
It's the same guys who did the BCO.
I was going to say, it is very similar.
He's 22 of 28, 7 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns to Riley Cooper, who I think no one's even talking about this, who refused to catch touchdown passes from the black quarterback.
Oh,
the funny thing is,
I think that's true.
A good friend of ours picked up Riley Cooper on the theory that the white quarterback will prefer the white receiver.
No.
And he was super excited that he got 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
Well,
he was kidding. He was kidding. But it was
sure,
funny,
but...
Yeah.
Sorry. Look, Riley Cooper's handled this very well, and credit to him for that, but that was too easy.
Is that 7 touchdowns? Sorry, is that 7 touchdowns indicative of how we are protecting the quarterback in this league? I mean, that's 2 quarterbacks this year who have 7 touchdowns in one game. Are we becoming that,
yes,
a total passing NFL?
Yes.
I think we're gonna. It's like baseball with all the home runs. I think you're going to see this a lot more in the future.
I think so too. We've done every week. We talk about how many running backs had 100 yards. There were actually a few more this week than there had been in past weeks, but there have been a couple weeks where there have either been none or one. That it used to be you'd have 8, 9, 10.
It's true. Heather makes a really good point because before Peyton Manning, the last guy to throw for 7 touchdowns was like 75 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's happened twice in this season alone.
So, to be fair, though, we had 2 great quarterbacks doing it this year, Peyton Manning and Nick Foles. So, now, by the way, we might disagree on Nick Foles in a second, but I totally agree with you on that. And it's not even based on the Philly game. I mean, I was watching all the early games, actually all the late games, too, and hit after hit on the quarterback that was perfectly acceptable, called unnecessary roughness. There was a hit on Drew Brees.
This one?
Yeah.
Where he tapped his helmet?
No, not even that one. The guy hit him in the midsection.
Yeah.
And they said that he hit him too low.
Hit him was below the knees.
You can't hit him high, you can't hit him low.
No,
where the hell can you hit him?
I saw that. That was and they'll see it. Like, that was a perfect hit. He hit him like maybe an inch below the waist. And didn't lead with his head, nothing. And it looked, because of the way Brees went down, they thought that they'd gone below the knees.
Plus, it was like that was a flag for hitting one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Like, don't hit Drew Brees like that.
But it wasn't even remotely late. Like, I mean, the ball had come out an eighth of a second early. I mean, there was literally nothing you could possibly.
It was a great hit.
And the announcers did point that out.
And so on Foles, I like him. I mean, everybody gave up on him after his first start, but the guy got a concussion in his first start. That's not his fault. So I don't know why still no one believes that is the sense I get. Heather, you don't believe, right?
Well, he also played last year. I think he played 6 games or 7 games last year, and didn't do that well.
He looked. He had a couple of moments, but of course, he was a rookie. Like, that used to be that we would wait 3 years for rookies. Now we're like, well, Robert Griffin, Andrew Luck, they're awesome right from the start.
Right.
But that Oakland secondary was not great. I don't.
To say the least.
Yeah.
I feel like give him another team.
And also,
I hear you.
Yesterday, a couple of flukish things happened where several times the defensive backs of the Raiders just slipped and fell. And the guys were wide open.
Yeah, it was
even Tim Tebow would have made half those throws.
Tim Tebow would have been 11 of 28, right? The 560 total yards.
Gee whiz.
For the Raiders in that game.
Wow.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Wait,
the
what?
Raiders gained 560 yards in that game.
And got massacred.
Third most ever, the most yards for the Raiders since 1968, and they lost by 29 points. It's a reminder that, like, this Chip Kelly, they can't play defense. They can't. The Raiders went up and down the field. Now, granted, a lot of that was because the Philly had a big lead and they let the yards happen, but still, 560 yards to the Raiders.
Yeah, the flip side to that is halfway through that game, I was thinking, the amount of money I'm going to bet on the Eagles next year is immeasurable.
Well, who's going to be? So do you go Vic if he's healthy, or are they going to stick with Foles?
No,
no. Foles.
You're
It's
crazy.
over.
Vic can't pull. You can't have Vic as your starting quarterback because he's going to get hurt. You have to have a thing.
There's no continuity with Vic. He'll give you a great game, and then he'll get hurt in the first quarter of the next game. And then you just bring in a new guy.
So here's the thing.
I believe. Move on.
Yeah, I believe in Chip Kelly's offense. I believe you go Foles the rest of the way. If Foles gets nicked up for whatever reason, and you got Vic, and you bring him in at the end,
it could be
he
great.
could have two phenomenal games for you at the end of the season.
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe even in the playoffs with that division. You never know.
Right, and maybe Nick Foles isn't mobile enough. You don't need to. The quarterback doesn't necessarily need to run in that offense, but he's got to be able to move. So we'll see if he looked like a guy who could run that offense, but as you said, it was against the Raiders. By the way, big development. Darren McFadden got hurt in that game.
Really?
Yeah, McFadden was hurt.
Sky is blue, water wet. Yeah.
The only thing surprising about that is that he wasn't on my fantasy football team.
It's okay though, because he's a quick healer.
Yeah, he's a quick. He'll be back. He'll probably be back at practice on Wednesday.